All right, and then slideshow. I did skip the meet and greet last week, so I just wanted to start there and dive in a little bit. Oh, I forgot to, did I share the screen? Nope, I forgot that part. Okay. All right, share sounds. All right, folks. So yeah, the first question today, or the icebreaker, is how did you discover subliminals? And what was one of your first successful results? And then, sorry, this was, no, that's not correct. Okay. And what is the
Remember
word?
we were
Yeah,
talking about
energy.
the paradigms. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, this was just an icebreaker, Nate,
Oh,
for
okay.
us. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, so did anyone want to go first or?
Oh, I don't mind too. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess I discovered subliminals through it was kind of, one way where I do think, an algorithm is good. I was on the Meditative Mind channel, with frequency C's and chakras. And it recommended like I think it was healing, your self-healing subliminal, and one of the first successful ones when I, was had, my lungs weren't good. I did your heal your lungs subliminals for about several times, and man, it really worked. I also did the most recent, the Confianza Maxima, and I think maybe the Spanish ones will help me learn a little bit more Spanish too. So, and I guess the word energy just means a constant. It's a constant flow of things, and as long as we keep that constant, but we're able to sift and extract the good. That's the main thing in life, just enjoying it. And of course we're always going to have sediment and negative things that'll knock our flow off, but we have to keep it well.
That was really, really, really nice, Nate. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Ken, did you want to go next?
Okay, thank you. So I discovered subliminals when I was a kid. I was living in France, and I think I read in a magazine. My brother, my older brother, told me about negative subliminals in the advertising in TV, in the songs, etc. And by that time, we didn't have internet yet, so I didn't know about like positive subliminal because there was not YouTube yet. And when I go back to Indonesia, I had a lot of insights about how the mind and the emotion block us to reach the life we desire. And I was looking in YouTube about meditation, subliminal, not subliminal, not meditation to like release trauma, etc. But in the suggestion, because it was a thematic of releasing trauma, etc. So YouTube suggests me some channels of subliminal, and I discovered Dr. Virtual, I think, and the other one is yours, Seiluke, and yeah, it was like in the commentaries of people like who is the most powerful subliminal maker, and I saw yours in the commentaries, and I like I use for my dogs also. So for me, for my dogs, and for the reality I want to shift. How is successful results? So for my dog, not my dog, the neighbor of my dog. No, my dog neighbor, he had like a accident, and I used the subliminal about that healing you met with to the dog recovery, and now he's healthy, and it was like quite fast, and also like the subliminal, like you made God booster for physical results. I use it with other subliminals for other channels, like to regrow my hair, because at that time you did not put the latest version of hair regrowth. So, but the God booster, it is very like fast also for hair and also for skin, I think. Not I think, I see for skin is very fast. And the word energy mean to me like something that can put dynamic in something, so it can be neutral, it can be harmonious, it can be pleasure pleasurable or not pleasurable. I don't really like the term negative and positive, because like for me, I like to be like embrace all neutrality. Sometimes I judge, but I know it's better when I do not judge, so it can put like a neutrality, and whatever positive or negative, we can switch always how we want it to be. So energy, it is something that is flowing, and we are the person or the spirit who can like direct that energy somewhere, or to make new forms of that energy. And it's very powerful for everybody. It's very powerful. You don't have your mic. Your mic is on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ken. That was beautiful. And Maoshimi, I'm not sure if you're able to talk, brother, or not.
No, I can talk.
How are you doing?
Oh, machine.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
Very good.
I did see you. Yeah. So, it was something, I don't remember the channel name now, but while, just watching some videos on YouTube, I found one channel, and, at that time, coincidentally, it was something like, I was injured, and the subliminal was something like, healing the wound kind of thing. And by chance I heard it, and after listening the subliminal, I really felt that the recovery has become faster. So from that day onwards, I felt it is something which is really working. And about you, a couple of my friends has told me that there is a channel. I used to talk with friends. This something, this kind of things are prevailing in the world, which is something for maybe some people it is esoteric and occult. And one of my friends suggested your channel, and I listened your surveillance, and I found it very good. So this is the way. And about energies, I did some courses pranic healing and all this. I used to uh, I had I already know about energy and some functions of energy. So yeah, that way.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And Annette, do you mind going next?
Hi everyone. I liked everyone's stories. So I discovered subliminals with earlier this year in February. I was I'm a mom, so I have a baby, and after I, was a mom, I gained a lot of weight. So I wanted to lose a lot of weight, and I just looked up like skinny affirmations because I already knew about affirmations. Um, so I just looked that up, and then I started doing Rockstar Affirmations, his YouTube channel, and doing like the skinny affirmations videos. And so those really worked really fast for me. Within a week, I was like noticeably seeing the difference in the mirror and like in pictures and stuff. And I could like feel it in my clothes and all that. And so I just started losing weight from these affirmations. And so I just kept doing the affirmations videos. And then somehow, I just started getting like recommended subliminals on my just on YouTube. And so that's how I found the subliminals, was just like by doing the affirmations for like being skinny, and also for doing there was like these best boyfriend affirmations. So I was doing those also. And so that's how I found the subliminals. And yeah, those were my first successful results. And what does the word energy mean to me? So this is interesting because my son's name, when I was pregnant with him, I knew that it was a boy. Like the day I found out I was pregnant, I just knew it was a boy. And then I knew that he wanted to be named Energy. So I actually went into did a lot of research and like looked up energy in different languages. And because I did not want to name him just Energy because I thought people would make fun of him or like, and my family and friends were like, don't name him that. And they were like, people are gonna make fun of him. So I didn't. And so I just looked it up in another language and I found Ike. And so his name is Ike because it means energy in Igbo, and it also means laughter in Latin. So yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. Thank you so much, Annette.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
All right. All right. Okay. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so last week we were ending on understanding the mission, which, is very similar to doing a research paper in high school or even college. And as I was mentioning, we really, whatever affirmations you're writing or subliminal you're creating, right, we really need to understand all of the different angles that we can use to write the affirmation, right? And I think it was Tony Robbins who told a really interesting story. He was saying that, nothing, we should be positive, but at the same time, we need to also accept that there's a problem too before we can solve it. And the story he used was, we can have really big weeds in our backyard, and that's fine, but we need to accept that we have, really big weeds in our backyard, and that way we're able to, get rid of them with whatever route we decide to go. But he was saying we just can't use positivity to cover it up and say, oh, my weeds are really not that big. Maybe they're just going to, disappear somehow, or to the point where, we're kind of ignoring the problem per se. So that we want to use a similar approach here. When we create the subliminal, we should definitely acknowledge the problem and what are the greatest obstacles, understand the different angles, and yeah, taking lots of notes. And I was telling a story last week when I was working with some stem cell doctors. There was a lot of elderly people, and some of them maybe didn't really understand what stem cells were, but they still had a lot of wisdom. And, you know, they would always ask, like, ask the doctors, did you guys do the studies yourself on the stem cells and how powerful they were? And I thought that was a really wise question, right? Because if they're doing the studies themselves, they could just create whatever numbers unfortunately they wanted. So the stem cell doctors though were always using third parties, right? That way third parties that just the medical industry trusts, that are, you know, not going to just, you know, take bribes or change the numbers. So that was one thing that they always went into just about every presentation I heard the stem cell doctors give. So it's really important when we do research too. I don't want to get too into it, but the greatest, I think, piece of advice is just being open-minded and understanding that where the source is coming from, you know, having a background in marketing, you know, a lot of articles online and statistics you see online a lot of times are just really different medical or pharmaceutical companies paying them to, you know, promote their subscriptions or whatever it may be. So we just need to really try to stay unbiased in the research that we do if we are going to work with whatever issue it is. So did anyone have any comments or questions? Okay. So this is an example, right? If we wanted to do a subliminal for being more confident, then, you know, we really need to be addressing, right, every type of confidence must be acknowledged. If we're burning fat, all the different methods to burn fat has to be considered too, right? So, and then another question is, where did the fat problem come from, right? And that could be, you know, many different things, right? And that gets really deep, and this is where we'll discuss throughout the PowerPoint is there's two different kinds of subliminals you guys are going to make. One would be, you know, for the public, and then one would be just for, you know, someone personal to you. And, you know, that's the greatest, I think, challenge that all subliminal creators face that are YouTubers or making them for the public is it's, you know, so much diversity and so many different possibilities. And, you know, you're trying to cover, you know, infinite amounts of, you know, angles or, you know, roots of the problem at once. Now, obviously, if we're doing this for somebody, you know, that's really personal to us, then we could maybe understand that, for example, the fat problem maybe isn't really necessarily, you know, they're just their diet. The diet's more of the effect, and the actual cause is maybe they're depressed about something, right? And we would make the affirmations more for the depression. And this is why sometimes maybe someone listens to a burning fat subliminal and there's still, you know, there's a deeper problem going on where it just creates a lot of resistance or, you know, confliction to where nothing really happens. So, but it's important though, like I said, if especially if we're making these for our friends or families, we can really, you know, maximize the amount of questions we can ask them and really, you know, understand the different angles that really need to be addressed. So, and most of the slides are more for the public, you know, the perspectives or techniques I've always used. Like I said, obviously, you know, for friends and families, it can get a lot deeper. So, did anyone have any questions, comments? Okay. And yeah, this is, I think, something that was not too long ago that I really had to shift my own focus while writing even affirmations. And, you know, when we write the affirmations, we're shifting the person's their focus. And the beautiful thing about the imagination is, you know, it allows us to visualize into the future, and then we can bring that back, right, into the present moment. That's what we have with the imagination, right? It's kind of like the old Star Trek movies when they would talk on these, you know, little devices that were like cell phones. And at the time, you know, people were like, oh, that's just sci-fi, right? That's only something that people imagine. It's not real. And then, fast forward, a decade, 15 years later, well, we have a lot more than just, a walkie-talkie like thing that they would use. We have smartphones and tablets and everything that were, once held in somebody's imagination. So that's what we really want to do with subliminals is I think it's really underestimated, or I think people think it's a lot of just typing or just technical writing, but the perspective that I want us to take is more imaginative, right? We want to get more into our creative zone and really visualize what we're trying to create and connect with it. So there's definitely a level of meditation involved that we want that people need to be at as subliminal creators, and get that experience, visualizing and, manifesting the future and so forth. So, did anyone have any questions about that or comments? Yeah, Ken.
I have a comment about your focus creates your reality, and it is linked also to the slide before when you wrote about sometimes, like Tony Robbins said, if we just embrace the positive but do not acknowledge before what is block or what is negative. So me, for a long time, I was thinking like very stereotype think about men, like all men are the same, etc. They are not kind, etc. And in my reality, it was like that. I only met that kind of man because I want to love a man and I want to be loved, but in my subconscious mind, all men are the same. But when I realized about there have to be like, what is your problem? So I changed it. I understood that I cannot judge all men are the same. So for me, like when I change that negative mindset, and I use a subliminal to meet love, so I met a person that is like me, because before I was thinking nobody, no, there is no man who can understand what I understand about energy, about spirituality, etc. But because I was judging, like I was like above of some men that cannot understand me, so I cannot find someone that is like me. But by the time I did not judge anymore about that like energy is everybody has capacities. Before I was just like, oh, only few people have capacities, but now it's like all are the same. And I met someone who understand about the thing I understand. So my focus was on before like nothing I can get nothing that I want, and after it was my focus. It's like it's possible, and it's real. It happens.
Thank you, Kim. That was really, really a really, really good message. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is repetition continued. In English, we have a quote that's called beating on a dead bush. It's kind of basically saying, it's a good way to explain it. Basically, it's, no matter how many times you try something, the outcome's going to be the same, right? And obviously, this is more for, things that don't really involve the creative mind. It's more so maybe if, I don't know, what's a good example? If you keep feeding your dog a certain dog food, obviously, the outcome's going to be the same no matter what. And if you want it to get healthier, you can't keep giving it the same dog food, right? And if someone were to just refuse to change the dog food for, whatever reason, then, it's called beating on a dead bush. So this is kind of getting at that. We can replicate the affirmations as much as we want, but the affirmations itself is really or the quality of the affirmations is really the key point, right? And this is a similar example. If you have a really old Honda Civic, it can only get from point A to B so fast, while a brand new sport car is going to get from point A to B a little bit faster, right? So the affirmation, as it says, is the speed dictator, while the repetition is kind of secondary. So now obviously repetition is still needed no matter what. But yeah, and just another example, you can plant as many watermelon seeds as you want. However, it's also about the quality too. And as we've been discussing too, is also the energy too within the affirmations, right? We want to be using good intended affirmations, obviously too. So, did anyone have any comments or questions on that?
Well, I did have a question just about like whenever you do the subliminals, is it best to present whatever you're dealing with from kind of a dynamic perspective? Because like I did your 360 wave hair subliminal, but should you add and have the perfect hair subliminal to like, if you want a better gums, you would do the good teeth subliminal and then heal your mouth subliminal. So it's
Yeah.
best to like, is it best to add on to what it specifies?
Yeah, I think it would just depend on the amount of detail. Um, yeah, the mouth one is a little more tricky. And I think the more specific the subliminal is, the better, Nate, honestly.
Mhm.
For the 360 one, I would honestly just listen to the 360 subliminal. And the reason why is just to be as efficient as you could with the time that you're listening to the subliminals, because if you start throwing in the hair one, honestly, I think most of the affirmations are not really going to help the 360 wave. So we
Okay.
kind of just, yeah, in a sense, kind of wasting maybe half the affirmations or half the time, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
What
And
what is 360 degrees? What do you mean? I don't
Well,
understand.
it's sort of like a hairstyle to get, better hair. And
Uh,
we'll
I
see.
will try to re-listen the recording, and if I don't understand, I will ask.
Okay, I was gonna pull up an example, but okay.
You have an example?
Yeah, I was just going to Google one. Let's see here. I'm not too familiar, besides when I made the subliminal. Yeah, this is a pretty extreme example.
Mm.
Yeah, it's kind of that mark a little bit. All right, folks, I think we got maybe about 15, maybe 20 more minutes. Let's see where we get. Okay, awesome. So now we get into pronouns and affirmations. Excuse me. So we have, I am, you are, she is, he is, we are, they are, all of us, and so forth. However, while writing affirmations, it's important that we honor the laws of the universe while starting an affirmation. And the reason the philosophy behind this that I've always used is that everything starts with yourself first in the universe. Yeah, and I always believe it's good to build from within yourself. And I think, obviously creating beliefs from third person can, in the long term, maybe cause someone more harm than good, because, as I mentioned before, in terms of self-improvement subliminals, especially, if you change one area of your life, then the words that are written in those affirmations and the words within each subliminal start to eventually carry over to other areas of your life. So we have to be really careful when using third person a lot of the times. Yeah. And it can also create resistance for some people. Maybe some people are a little bit more, free spirited, or however you want to say it. And, when they hear, a third person, subliminal or affirmations, it might not have as much effect on them, just because, they have, a lot of, maybe inner resistance, or a lot of just, however you want to explain it. They could work for some people. To some extent, maybe. However, as I said, we really want to just focus more on the long term and, long-term growth from within and from within, who we are as an individual. So I've always stuck with the I am. I've honestly never used you are just for this reason. Like I said, I truly believe I really want to help people, build themselves up and, their own superpowers and their own unique fingerprint. And yeah, then we obviously have these two just in terms of grammar, so. And yeah, did anyone have any comments or questions? Yeah, no,
So my question is, can you go more in depth about how, like an example of how using the you affirmations could be potentially dangerous in the long term? Just because I have
yeah,
listened to some
yeah.
subliminals with you are, or like they'll post it in the bio and I'll read it, and it'll say like they use different types of stuff. So I'm just curious for my own safety and yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's not dangerous by any by any means. In terms of like health or safety, sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Okay.
Yeah, how,
Okay.
yeah,
Never mind. I was
yeah,
just curious if it was like if it was just that or if it was more just like if we should just focus on I am
yeah.
because
I guess another example could be, sometimes I tell my, girlfriend that, oh, I think your hair is beautiful. And she's just like, oh, even though I'm saying I think your hair is beautiful, she's still kind of just like, well, my perspective's a little different. Now, if it's, for example, maybe she listens to a subliminal and it's like, I am grateful for the beautiful hair on, on me or whatever, then I guess maybe it would be a little bit more receptive, but it just depends, like I said, on the situation. It's so just trying to, I guess you could say, reach more people in that, or just writing subliminals for the public. I've always just stuck with the I am, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, and then just a little more context, going to the back to the I am. Yeah, so this is kind of going more into philosophy, like I said, and it just goes around, I guess you could say the wisdom even of just understanding that a lot of things or just about everything in life starts with you first. For another example would be obviously a lot of self-help people I know teach that if you want to receive more love, you got to give more love, right? And you got to first love yourself. Um, in order to be able to give more love out, or you got to be able to appreciate yourself first before you can appreciate others and give out appreciation. Another example would be you got to be able to respect yourself, right, before you can start to respect other people. So it's just kind of going to that sense that everything starts with you. And yeah, as there's a lot of really interesting videos on this. I was trying to find a guy one time. It was a really random, one of those really random recommendations you get like right before you go to sleep or like late at night. And it was, I think, a physics professor that it was titled, I am, and then comma, going into the future. And I forget how he explained it, but, and it was 15 minutes long too. I really wanted to watch it, but he was going into, I think, the scientific approach to explaining how we're manifesting the future when we use the word I am in a lot of ways. So I kind of stole that a little bit here, or wanted to take that where I wrote I am changing the context of the future, right? So we're kind of traveling through space and time in a sense, if that makes sense. Did anyone have any questions and comments on I am?
Maybe it is like there is time and space. And when we were at school, we were taught that time is chronological. And maybe to say I am, even if now I'm not like that, but it will make us reaching the above time and space. Maybe that's like it.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah, definitely. And yeah, I had a student in the first class that he studied ancient Hebrew actually, and he was saying that in the I forget the technical term. I don't think it was the Quran, but there's more historical documents going, way back, way back. And he was saying that I am in Hebrew is actually the most powerful. It's just the energy behind it is just divine and just the most powerful ancient words in Hebrew, which I found really interesting from a historical standpoint. Yeah.
It makes me remind me to the mantra Aum. Like I am, it's like Aum. And in some Asian spirituality, they like to repeat the mantra Aum, like I am, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I think a lot of a lot of history and wisdom from a lot of texts, yeah, all connect to it somehow. That's very powerful. Because I mean, in a sense, as I was saying, with the whole energy, universal energy and all of us being connected through spirit, that yeah, it's the more we change, the more all of life changes. So it's very powerful. I am. Yeah, it's almost a universal voice. All right. Yeah, and this was just something I connected with, just the whole idea of the algorithms and changing our subconscious thoughts, the hundreds of thousands or tons of thoughts. Okay, so I think we'll most likely end here. I gotta see what the next one is. So what we have here is after I am, right? We have the ability to be timekeepers in a lot of sense, right? And these are just some examples. I am right now, I am quickly, I am with belief, I am from now on. It's honestly, I've always kind of for like 100 subliminals, I've kind of resonated with one and then I kind of change it. I think at first I started off with I am, and then I went to I am right now. And then for a while I was doing I am from now on, basically from this moment going forward, right? That's what that's saying, I am from now on. And then recently though, honestly, I just went back to I am. So sometimes I use I am right now sometimes. And while we go further and build off of longer and longer further down into the affirmations, it'll make more sense. And I think where this really applies is just who we're writing the affirmations for. I know some people even write affirmations for kids, so we got to be a little careful maybe and use more basic words. If it's for yourself, maybe you just really have felt quickly is always the fastest, or you just resonate with a certain one. I wouldn't say there's really a right answer. I think the more we write affirmations and towards the end of this class, we'll start to understand maybe when one's a little bit more correct than the other one in terms of efficiency. Yeah, I don't know if anyone had any questions or comments on this.
Well, it reminds me of a video I was watching from a Guru, and he was saying about how so many people tell themselves affirmations like just be yourself, just be happy. But he says, first and foremost, we should just be. And I thought that was really powerful because, we specify or add a lot, but if we just put those two words, just be, like you're already within your own potential. So that sort of makes me think of this. So yeah, I thought it was real cool.
That's really interesting, Nate. All right, I think this would be the last one since it's Friday. I know it's our shorter class, so yeah. So word choice, we're going to really explore. It's very powerful. As I said, the more and more I make subliminals, the more and more I just focus in on every single little word. And yeah, it's definitely important. I had a gentleman in the last class who was a retired astrologist, and yeah, very wise, and was from India. And he was just explaining, the importance. He wasn't quite a subliminal creator. However, he still understood just through wisdom. I think he was 88 years old, and he was just preaching though that how we need to be important and just mindful during the day of what words are being used around us, and the words on the television, the media we consume, and that how powerful it is, because the subconscious mind, unless if we're consciously, blocking out, or consciously, um, filtering through the words that we hear during the day, it can be really dangerous, right? Just one bad word, can, without, being aware of it, can over time start to really cause a lot of havoc. So the words that we use in our affirmations, or each subliminal, is really important. And just some introductory pointers. Words shouldn't change or contradict each other. So for example, if we're saying I am rapidly, or I am allowing the cells to rapidly, then we really, want to stick with rapid, right? To where we can have that repetition of rapid as throughout the subliminal, and we're not creating confliction, right, in the subconscious mind. So if we once we I mean, I've played around with the speeds for a while, and I don't want to confuse you guys or confuse people watching this too, since we're still about 20-30% into the class. But first, starting off, just some examples. I am, and then a lot of the early subliminals and middle subliminals that actually had a lot of really good results, I was using the word rapid or rapidly. And then, just out of wanting to self-improve or improve the subliminals, I really started to use the word infinite for all the users. And then I went to beyond infinity, which I don't know how far back you guys have been listening, but I had actually changed the YouTube name to Beyond Infinity Productions. But the issue with that, which, like I said, I don't want to get too far ahead, was how do we measure beyond infinity, right? And I was just a giant, puzzle I was trying to figure out, and bringing in different things we'll discuss later. And recently, though, I did go back to rapidly. And it was just something that resonated with not only me, but I felt that the majority of people watching the subliminal, as I said, we need to have perspective and see it through their perspective. I felt like something that was more efficient, not necessarily powerful, but more efficient. So, and yeah, so if we use metaphors, we need to make sure they're understandable. Now, like I said, if we're writing these for friends and families, and they for a fact already understand the metaphor, then it's okay. For public subliminals or YouTube channels, we want to be careful. I believe Nicole, actually, she's from the last class, she's actually been working on her own YouTube channel. I'm really proud of her, and she's supposed to be joining us, I think, soon. She's just been going through some different work issues she's trying to figure out. But for her and other people that want to, dive into their own public YouTube channel, right, we need to be careful with metaphors, right? And one in English is, I think we already went over this, right? Beating on a dead bush. And maybe somebody who's English is their second language, they even subconsciously would all kinds of maybe problems. And I want to end the class too, just on a point too, because, and I've been asked that many times by people, is if I'm still learning English, can I listen to the affirmations? And that there's two ways that one could approach this. Is the first one is the most common one, is that if the subconscious mind hasn't heard the definition before, then it's not going to be there. Now, a lot of times subconsciously we actually still have the definition, maybe from taking an English class or a Spanish class in high school. Even though consciously we don't recall it, it's still there. So it's a matter of just being mindful of, how many definitions in English or Spanish, depending on what language the subliminal's in, have we really heard, right? Because it's still there somewhere inside the subconscious mind. There's a more advanced technique that I feel we need to personally, with the subconscious mind, guide word by word, which we'll understand why by the end of this class, which is where we could technically, use the intuition and, maybe ask the universe to guide the affirmations and explain the affirmations, even though you don't know the definitions of the subliminal you're listening to. And like I said, guys, this is for maybe someone who was not a first English speaker or whatever language the subliminal's in, to maybe ask the universe to kind of guide you in understanding those words. But like I said, that's kind of up for debate, and it kind of gets a little risky there in the techniques that you use and if what the listener's beliefs are. So I've always just stuck with the more generic answer that no, you would have had to have actually heard the definitions yourself at some point in your life. So, and that would go towards, like I said, metaphors too, if the person would understand them or not. So, did anyone have any questions, comment, guys, before we end this class?
Just wanted to wish everyone a good weekend. So
Thank you, Nate. Nate, what's one of your favorite English quotes besides beating on a dead bush?
well, you know what? I believe it's Oscar Wilde, but he said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is taken."
That's awesome. Ken or Annette, Mashimi, did you guys have any quotes, maybe even from your mother language, that are really famous?
I don't remember now.
Oh, I do. So my mother language is Spanish, and it just came to mind because I was thinking, my dad used to say all the time, "El que se enoja pierde," which means the person that gets mad loses. And anyway, so that's stuck in my head since I was a little girl. Yeah.
That's really, really powerful. It can change your whole life. And yeah, so Ken or Mashimi. I'm sure there's a lot. Yeah, it kind of just depends on, I guess, the situation you're in, and it just kind of comes to you, right? It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
I have one in France. It's trop bon, trop con. Trop means too much, and bon means a good person, and con means a stupid person. So it is like if you are too good, too kind, so people will make nasty thing to you. So it means you are stupid. But for me, those words at the time it was, oh, it's not good because we have to be good. But after few years after, I was a bit agree, like, yes, sometimes if we are too good, I was like too good with people, not because I was a good person, but because I was scared people will do something bad to me. So I changed it, and now I embrace, if we have to be good, we'll be good, but if we have to be like firm, we will be firm. I mean, me.
Yeah, standing up for yourself, definitely. Oh, excuse me. All right, everyone. Well, yeah, since today is Friday, as we discussed, I'm going to, excuse me, I think we'll stop there. Yeah, Yeah, I know towards the end there's going to be a lot more examples. I'll start writing out some affirmations too as examples. I know at some point I wanted to do an actual meditation. Yeah, and then we'll definitely make a subliminal or two ourselves at the very end, and dive a little bit more deeper. So I know it says 27 out of 87, but like I said, once we hit about 30, 40, things are going to start getting a lot more intense. So
Do you make like paid requests, like not for public, but if someone wants to ask you to make a subliminal, personal subliminal, do you accept like that?
yeah, right now I've just been doing paid requests. Yeah, I could definitely, usually, I do personal requests, but a lot of the paid requests too, though, have actually gone up to the YouTube channel, and the person that requested it obviously agreed to it too first and was really gracious. But yeah, sorry, Kim, that was the question, or yeah, but I mean, if you're taking the class, Kim, like I said, we could definitely work something out, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, everyone. It was a really, really good class. And yeah, like I said, I'm excited for next week. And like I said, everyone that's the other students and people in the future uh, that watch this, yeah, blessings to all of them and blessings to all of you here tonight.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
to all.
thank you. All right, everyone. Yeah, have a good weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday.
Right.
Thank you so much.